Hey, what's up guys? It's Corey here with Dapper Dollars, and today we're going to talk about whether or not I bought a dud with Wisekey. You ready? Let's get started. So, this channel is all about using the online income opportunities like merch by Amazon and Etsy to build our income online and invest this income in things like the stock market and real estate. If that sounds like something you're interested in, like and subscribe, and let's get started. So, Wisekey has made some interesting and slightly disappointing moves recently, which have really led to, honestly, a shaky belief for me in Wisekey's future. I don't think that they're going to crash and burn. However, they are on thin ice as far as I'm concerned on whether or not I want to keep investing in this company or just put it in the drawer and walk away from it and see what happens in 5 years. So let's talk about what's going on. First of all, what is Wisekey? Wisekey is a digital identity and security company. What they do is produce semiconductor chips and apps that protect someone's digital identity and information from the Internet of Things. Because with the Internet of Things, basically everything is connected to the Internet. Our phones are essentially becoming a hub for Bluetooth and the Internet, so anything that connects to our phone or connect to our TVs, which includes traffic lights and cars and everything like that, is all sharing information through the internet, and this information is related to our identities and the internet, or the information that we put out as far as what we're paying for, how far we're driving, what we're looking at on our phones, what we're shopping for, and things like that. So protecting that information as far as our digital identity is important. And that's what Wisekey does. And they also have gotten into the NFT space. And this is where we get into a little bit of an issue. Wisekey has done a great job selling the fact that they can digitally certify and authenticate products in the physical world that are listed for sale as an NFT in the digital world. They did this with a watch recently. They launched the sale of this watch, and everything that's happened after that is pretty hilarious and sad if you're an investor in this company. So how it started was Wisekey launched the NFT of this watch on OpenSea, and I think through WiseArt, which is their new platform. And everything was going okay until they made a few key mistakes. Number one, they extended the deadline for the bidding. Now this is a number one no-no as far as internet marketing goes, because it really breaks the trust that you have with your community. You might, if you bought anything online through like a course or anything like that from anyone else, you might have been through this sales pitch before where you get to the end of when a course is offered and then they say, oh, but wait, we have so many people that want to get into this course and they need to wait until the deadline is over. So I'm going to extend the deadline past what I said so that additional people who weren't able to make it can now have the opportunity. This is usually a lie. This is really never the case from someone who has sold products online through a website and someone who has watched courses of people who effectively sell products online. Generally, this is not the case and is never really a true statement. It's just a way to build attention and basically get a few more people in the door who might not have been there before, or you haven't sold anything at all and you're just trying to give yourself more time. This is essentially what Wisekey did. They broke this rule, and we can tell that they did this for a reason because they weren't getting many bids at all, if any. They had like 1 Ether, I think, for the payment of the NFT of this watch. And then they extended the deadline, and then suddenly they got 25 Ethers, which is, I think, relatable to $50,000 US dollars. So they went from 1 to 25 Ethers, which is $50,000 from one person. And clearly this is not real. This is clearly something that either a Wisekey or someone who's associated with Wisekey has done. You don't organically go from 1 to 25 in a bidding situation for something like this. Anyone who's bought anything on eBay knows this. If you started a bid for an iPhone out at $1, you would not go from $1 to $500. You would go from $1 to maybe 5 or 10, and then it would go from 10 to 15 or 25, and then you would go up from there, and it would gradually progress up, because that's how bidding works. No one goes 0 to 100 miles an hour in bidding. Everyone's bidding because they want to get it for as cheap as possible. So the fact that it went from 1 to 25 ethers, which again is equivalent to 50,000 US dollars, is definitely sketchy and reeks of dishonesty, in my opinion, because it is very obvious that this was not an organic situation. Somebody from Wisekey or whoever owns this watch decided to bid up the price, and you saw an additional bid come in recently, I think, that kept a bid at 25 ethers. So this is embarrassing to watch just because, I invested in this company. I thought this was a great thing. I was like, well, they're going to get into the NFT space and everything that is physical is now going to be digital and they're going to do great. And this was really a make or break moment for Wisekey because it would solidify whether or not people were willing to pay for something as a digital asset that is in the physical world. And right now, it's not working out. Now, this doesn't mean that Wisekey itself has failed. It might be just a digital version of this watch is not appealing to people. And honestly, the fact that the pictures taken of this thing, because whenever you're selling this product online, it's all about the pictures and how it looks. It looks like someone had this on their coffee table with their iPhone, click, picture, put it up as an NFT. That's pretty garbage. If I'm going to pay $50,000 for an NFT, I want a pretty good picture, first of all, and then we can talk about whether or not it's actually worth it. So anyway, this is definitely sketchy, but it doesn't mean that Wisekey itself is a dud because this is just one branch of their company. They just happen to have gone really hard into this one branch, and hopefully they can pull it back a little bit and get back to the regular identity of what their company is supposed to be about and what I initially bought into this company for. So let's talk about what they're doing well right now that hopefully they draw back into. Number one, they increased their semiconductor production capability and supply chain. So that is an amazing thing because that is what has gotten them to the game and the dance in the first place. Second of all, they have produced and they have Hyro. I'm sorry, I just forgot a little bit of my notes for a second. They have they've rolled out Hyro through their Arago company that they purchased at the beginning of 2021, and these two things are the catalyst for actual growth in the company and probably not the NFT space. So let's talk about these two things and what specifically it means for Wisekey in the future. Now, the semiconductor production and supply chain increase is a great thing for Wisekey because that means that they are going to be able to roll out more chips and get paid more for whenever they have those put into more objects. And what this is for Wisekey and the rest of the world is that they're providing digital security for things like medical devices, drones, internet modems, and routers, and things like that to protect the digital identity and well-being of the nation. So in the medical space, having a Wisekey chip inside of a medical device protects the customer or the patient's digital identity and information because this medical device is often connected to the internet. Because while it's amazing to be able to access a ton of information and have this medical device that you have talk to everything else in the hospital so that all of your information is in one spot, the fact that it is talking to everything else in the hospital means that it is all accessible from any point in that hospital. And so if there is not a chip in these devices in every device in the hospital, that means that your information can be accessed from these points and basically taken from you and scraped from a hacker. So having these chips in medical devices is paramount if you are someone who runs a hospital, and definitely something that we need to have in the future. So Wisekey providing these chips to medical devices is a great thing. Same thing with our internet modems and routers. Having a Wisekey chip in there or some sort of digital protection chip in there is great for us as consumers because being at our house, we look at a lot of things, and if someone is able to connect to our router or modem or just anything within our house, because if you get to the phone, then you can likely get to the router if you are an efficient hacker. So having these chips there is a great thing as well. And the drones that Wisekey has or the chips that Wisekey has in drones is amazing because Parrot is the #1 producer of drones in the US and I think across the world. But anyway, Wisekey has their chips in these drones, and what this chip does is you are able to set parameters for where this drone can and cannot fly. This is essential for the government protection. This means that no one can go out to Walmart, buy a Parrot drone, and fly it into a military base and essentially see what's going on over there, because that would be very dangerous for us as a country. And also you can't fly your drone into airspace that is reserved for airports or private airstrips or things like that. And there are also residential restrictions on these drones as well. So this is a great thing for people who value their security and the countries that don't want the drones to be able to fly into their, protected spaces. So Wisekey is providing a great thing with these semiconductors, and it is going to be what gets them to the dance in the future and keeps them there. So this is one thing that they're doing right. And also the Hyro technology that Arago, which is purchased through Wisekey, has been rolling out on the SAP market. So what the SAP market is a enterprise app space. So think the App Store except for businesses. And what Hyro does is integrates human learning ability with AI technology to handle support claims for customers. And what this helps to do is to not just chat with a robot that is, if you've chatted with a robot online or any sort of situation, you know that it is beyond frustrating to have to deal with a clearly programmed chat box on any sort of website. Now, what this difference is here is that there is a human learning and AI element to it. So it takes in all of the information that you've ever given it and responds with a somewhat thought out and methodical response. So it's not just the normal chat boxes, which usually require coding. And in that coding, you would just put certain questions that would trigger a response from this chat box, and then that would be your customer service. Whereas Hyro actually gives you a human-like response. Now, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be like chatting with a person, but it is going to be much better than you typing up a question and the question not jiving with what was coded with the chat box, and so it just gives you some sort of weird response. Instead, it is able to interpret what you have typed and associate it with what you might be talking about. And the human learning aspect of Hyro means that it is going to not only just acknowledge this question, but it is going to take everything that happened in your chat experience and apply it to the future. So everything is going to improve as the system learns and has more interactions. But the #1 capability of this is that you are no longer restricted to just talking to one person or being one place at one time. So with Hyro, you wouldn't have one person sitting at a chat desk that is able to answer 20 people. Instead, Hyro is scalable. So Hyro can basically multiply itself and address all of these questions and concerns at the same time, because Hyro is not limited by just being in one place at one time. It is infinitely scalable, so it can be at multiple places at multiple times and answer all of these queries, and then simultaneously collect that data to know how to better address the customers in the future. So this is great technology that is being rolled out by Hyro and Wisekey. So these are great things where Wisekey is moving forward. There are the areas where Wisekey is lacking. We can just only hope and pray that they do not choose to pursue this NFT hype anymore. Now, while Amazon had a lot of luck with their Amazon Web Services, and that wound up being a great thing for Amazon, even though that wasn't exactly what they intended to do, it turned out to be a great business model. It seems like this is what Wisekey is attempting to do at the same time with the NFT space. This is not working. Wisekey definitely needs to draw it back. There is clearly a demand for NFTs in the future. However, they need to sit on this technology and improve it until the Internet of Things and the physical to digital world catches up, and then they can provide this resource later. However, right now, please let's get back to basics and let's not crash this company and put all our eggs in the NFT basket. So anyway, that's my thesis on on Wisekey. So Wisekey is in a pretty good place, and I think they're fairly valued right now, around $9 to $10. And they've fallen from the $20 high that they had a few weeks ago, but they're the same company. They've done the same things. They've just rolled out some sketchy news, and the market has kind of gone sideways for a while, and earnings are coming out, so everybody in the market is kind of freaking out and wondering what to do and how to interpret all these earnings, and the move from NASDAQ companies into Dow Jones companies. And all this stuff is happening in the background of the market, so it is pulling Wisekey down along with other NASDAQ companies. But I believe this will bounce back in the future, and I believe that if Wisekey is able to correct course and get back on the digital identity protection train, that is essentially going to help their business more than anything. So that's where I stand with Wisekey right now. I'm still buying, and anything between $9 and $13. I'm buying pretty heavy, and anything between $9 and $10 I'm buying heavily. 10 to 13, little shady, and then of course once it gets past 13, I'm not really going to be buying much unless they come out with some great information. So anyway, that's my opinion. That's what I see happening. I don't know if Wisekey is a dud yet, but time will tell. We'll wait and see. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great week, and remember, someone is going to do something amazing every day, guys. Why not you? See ya.